What kind of build are we doing? I'll show you. But first, before I show you the build, look at the super meter real quick for a second, okay? Just hang with me here. All right. And hit that. And we'll get that. And we'll dodge. And then we'll hit that. And then we'll get him. And then we'll dodge. We're already halfway. Already halfway. We'll dodge. Hit him. Dodge again. There's 3/4. Hit that again. Take him out. And boom, another super. That's the build. And that's not even the best part of the build. So this is a build that I cannot keep under wraps anymore. And you'll understand what I mean by that in a brief moment once we start talking about it. But this is effectively a better version of the Arc Hunter build that I made back in Lightfall, which I believe is my highest viewed video of all time. It is the most viewed build that I have ever made. This is a better version of it. This build effectively gives you more damage resistance buffs than any other build in the entire game. It has ridiculous damage on a combination blow Tempest Strike loop that also gives you Ascension, which gives you even more damage resistance and speed boost, and gives all your allies damage resistance and 20-second supers, tons of ionic traces. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. For the exotic armor piece of this build, we have got the Gifted Conviction, where activating Ascension or Tempest Strike is going to throw bouncing explosives at nearby targets that jolt and damage them, and jolting nearby targets grants us damage resistance. This video is sponsored by Raycon. Remember back to school shopping as a kid? New shoes, new backpack, that feeling of starting fresh. Most of us might not be in school anymore, but that doesn't mean we can't still get that same feeling with a new pair of Raycon's Everyday Earbuds Classic. They are absolutely packed with upgrades like active noise cancellation and multi-point connectivity so that you can pair them with 2 devices at once, all within a super comfortable ergonomic design that helps them stay put no matter what you're doing, like working out at the gym, going for a walk, or even vibing through your morning routine, which is my personal favorite way to use them. And the new colors are awesome. I'm personally into the mint earbuds along with the water protective case, but all of them look fantastic. With a 32-hour battery life, a quick charge function where 10 minutes of charge gives you 90 minutes of playtime, and an awareness mode that allows you to still hear what's happening around you if you're using them out in public, there's no reason not to love them. And here's the kicker, Raycon quality rivals the big premium auto brands, but at half the price. So go to buyraycon.com/Mactics to get 20% off site-wide. That's buyraycon.com/Mactics. Thanks to Raycon for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the build. So if I come over here to the Destiny Data Compendium to look up some specifics about the Gifted Conviction damage resistance, which we're looking at on Opera GX, by the way. It's a new browser I've been using for the past 2 months, and we have an affiliate link with them. Every single person who downloads nets the channel $3 to make more builds. Link is in the description if you want to try out a new browser that's better than Google Chrome, eats way less resources, gives you better FPS in game. Gifted Conviction right here. If you jolt one target, if you have 1 application of jolt, you get 25% damage resistance right there. 2 applications of jolt gives you 40%, and 3 applications of jolt gives you 50%. And every time that you use Ascension or Tempest Strike, it's going to release 3 tracking arc projectiles that will deal damage and apply said jolt. However, what's really cool about this build, and don't worry, I know you see the firing range, we will be testing this build in some actual -40 power level content after I walk through all of the armor mods, all of the aspects fragments and that goodness, just like being here for a little control testing to demonstrate some certain things about the build. Now, what's really cool about the jolting aspect of Gifted Conviction giving damage resistance is it does not have to specifically be jolt from the orbs that release when you cast Tempest Strike or Ascension that come from Gifted Conviction. It can be any source of jolt. So if you're using weapons that jolt targets, as an example, as you can see on the left side of my screen, resist ×2, simply for shooting something with Delicate Tomb right here, goes up to resist x3 because I applied some jolt to that target as well. Any source of jolt is going to give you damage resistance, not just your ability jolts, which is really, really cool. Now, as far as the subclass setup goes, because we get those jolting orbs from Tempest Strike and Ascension, it should be no surprise that for this build, our 2 aspects are going to be Tempest Strike and Ascension. As far as Ascension goes, you know how Ascension works. 3 fragment slots as long as you're using it on the Arc subclass as opposed to the Prismatic subclass. While you're airborne, you can activate your air move, you consume your class ability to summon your Arc staff, you go upward, you jolt targets below you in conjunction with creating the jolting orbs from Gifted Conviction, gives yourself amplified, and gives all nearby allies amplified. And the really cool thing about Ascension mention as well is that it also procs all class ability-based effects as well, such as things like Gambler's Dodge and things like class ability-based mods like Dynamo on the helmet, things like Reaper on the class item, Powerful Attraction, and so on and so forth. Now, the other aspect for this build, Tempest Strike, is a little bit more in-depth. While sliding, you can activate your charged melee ability to unleash an uppercut that's going to damage and jolt targets that it hits, and it just gives us a blanket passive where anytime we defeat any jolted target, it's going to give us a stack of bolt charge. And that's any jolted target, targets that are jolted from Ascension, targets that are jolted from the jolting orbs that spawn from Gifted Conviction, targets that are jolted by any weapons that we may have that can apply jolt to targets. Absolutely anything. We kill something with jolt on it, gives us bolt charge stacks. Now, to look at what's really interesting about Tempest Strike with this build, we need to look at our powered melee ability for this build, Combination Blow, which I'm sure many are familiar with. Anytime you have your Combination Blow melee available and you get a final blow with it, you're going to refund a little bit of health, you're going to restore some class ability energy dependent on what your class stat is. If you have at least 70 class stat, it'll net a full class ability refund every single time, and it's going to give you a stack of Combination Blow, which is going to increase all future outgoing melee damage. It increments up to 3 stacks and lasts for 20 seconds and refreshes every time you get a melee final blow with your powered melee available. And what's really cool about Combination Blow in conjunction with Tempest Strike is a couple of things, because there has recently been a lot of changes in the game where Combination Blow stacks now increase the damage of the Tempest Strike melee, which they didn't before. And on the other side of the coin, final blows with Tempest Strike now proc Combination Blow to refund class ability energy, give yourself a little bit of a heal, and to increment the stat counter of Combination Blow. And this is what I was talking about earlier when I said I can't keep this build under wraps anymore, because I was waiting for this slightly annoying bug regarding this build to be fixed, but I've been having too much fun with this build, and so even though this bug does exist at the current moment, I'm going to show you how to get around it. So what I'm talking about is, for whatever reason, right, if I get a kill with my Tempest Strike, you would expect that it would proc Combination Blow, give me my class ability back, and give me a stack of Combination Blow on the left side of my screen to increment my melee damage. But as you can see here, I don't have a stack of Combination Blow, and I did not refund my class ability. For whatever reason, there's a slight bug with this interaction where for your Tempest Strike to actually count as consuming Combination Blow when killing a target, refunding your class ability, and all that goodness, you have to have recently damaged the enemy that you kill with Tempest Strike. So as you can see now on the left side of my screen, I have Combination Blow, and it gave me my class ability back. Dodge, hit that guy with the little shot real quick. It'll give me Combination Blow X2, give me my dodge back, hit this guy real quick, hit him again, Combination Blow X3. You can't see because I have too many buffs, but it did give me my class ability back, and so on and so forth, which is slightly annoying. However, the way that I've constructed this build, you're going to be shooting enemies before you hit them with Tempest Strike anyway, and we'll talk about that in a brief moment. Like I said at the beginning of the build video, I just can't keep this build under wraps anymore. I was waiting for them to fix that slight little bug that made it a little bit annoying to keep the Combination Blow and Tempest Strike stacking, but even with that bug in place, it's pretty easy to get around as long as you know that it's there and you know how to circumvent it. I've just been having way too much fun with this build. I need to put it in y'all's hands. I need people to be aware of it because it's way too much fun, even despite that bug being there. Now, as far as the rest of the build goes, just simply go and Pulse Grenade. Your grenade really doesn't matter that much for this build. You can go whatever grenade you want. We're not really playing too much into our grenade. Pulse Grenade, generally speaking, is the best grenade if you're not building into it specifically. It's the best, like, base level grenade, so that's what I go with. You can use something else if you would like, though. And then we're going Gathering Storm for the super, because we're going to be ripping Gathering Storms every, like, 20 to 30 seconds. As far as fragments go, it's relatively simple. Going Resistance for 10 bonus stat points to melee, and while surrounded by combatants, we're more resilient to incoming damage, which makes sense because we're very close quarters with this build. Spark of Frequency, where melee hits increase your equipped weapon's reload speed and stability for a short duration, and while we're amplified, we gained increased stacks of bolt charge from all sources. That'll become more apparent as to why that's important in a second. It's obviously important because of Tempest Strike already. We're defeating jolted targets grants a stack of bolt charge, but we've also got the Spark of Discharge, where arc weapon final blows have a chance to create an ionic trace, and collecting ionic traces grants us stacks of bolt charge. Furthermore, defeating a jolted target or defeating a target with bolt charge is also going to create an ionic trace, and as we said before with the Spark of Discharge, those will now give us bolt charge. Finally, we got the Spark of Amplitude. Rapidly defeating targets while you are amplified creates an orb of power. Now, what I will say as far as these 5 fragments goes, you can tweak them a little bit if you would like to. I know you might think that Spark of Feedback might be really nice here. Taking melee damage briefly increases your outgoing melee damage if you get hit right before you throw a Tempest Strike. However, the reason I didn't throw that in with this build is because even though it is a close quarters build, Tempest Strike has a very healthy amount of range on it, at the very least compared to running up and combination blow punching everything. I don't find a lot of situations where I'm actually getting meleeed that often, because even though it is close range, you're still you have a very decent distance between you and targets, and you're one-hitting everything anyway with the Tempest Strike, so they can't even get close enough to land a hit on you anyway. As far as stats go for this build, the number one thing you care about is as high of a melee stat as possible, simply so that you can increase the melee damage of your Tempest Strike. Now, at the current moment, I would recommend you either shoot to get 160 melee stat, and then you can get another 40 from double font mods on your gloves, or you can shoot for 180 melee stat, and then just have one font mod to get yourself up to 200. Really though, if you're anywhere in like the 160 to 200 range, you're going to be pretty solid. The next stat you want to prioritize is a minimum of 70 class stat. And frankly, you don't really want any more than 70 class stat if you can help it. Reason being is because 70 class stat is the perfect amount for your combination blow final blows, which are typically going to be from Tempest Strike, which refund class ability energy. If you are at 70 on the dot, it will give you 100% of your class ability energy back. No more, no less. Everything else is going to be dumped into your super stat. So we have Gathering Storms up as much as possible, and then anything left over, you can go ahead and chuck into your grenade stat for a little bit better grenade uptime. As far as armor mods go, they're relatively simple. We're really just playing into melee final blow based things and dodge based things, since we are doing both so frequently. So we've got Dynamo, which reduces our super cooldown when we use it near targets in conjunction with hands-on, so we get bonus super energy on melee kills, which is our Tempest Strike kills. Also got Harmonic Siphon, so that rapid arc weapon final blows are going to create an orb of power. Next, we've got our gloves, where we're going to go double heavy-handed is what I like running, where our powered melee final blows create an orb of power. Since we're running 2 copies of these, we get to make an orb of power every 5 seconds, as opposed to every 10 seconds if we only had 1 copy of this on. However, if you would like to, if you prioritize better melee damage instead, you could totally run 1 heavy-handed and 2 melee fonts if you value 20 melee stat points over orbs every 5 seconds versus every 10 seconds. I'm also running 1 melee font so that when I'm armor charged, I'm at 191 melee stat as opposed to 171. Down on the chest, concussive dampener in conjunction with whatever resistances you want. Down on the boots, pretty simple. Innervation, so that we reduce our grenade cooldown every time we pick up an orb of power. We don't really need any cooldown reduction for a melee and class ability, since they refund each other back and forth. Having a little bit of grenade uptime doesn't feel too bad at all. And then I'm going double arc weapon surge. It's going to be a 17% arc weapon damage buff anytime I'm armor charged. If you're using not arc weapons, then you can go ahead and swap these arc surges for whatever weapon you're using the most. We'll get to that in a little bit. Finally, on the class item, Reaper, time dilation, powerful attraction anytime we use our class ability, or ascension, that also counts for our class ability. Keep that in mind for those mods. And in conjunction with something like Dynamo, we are going to make an orb of power on our next weapon final blow. We're going to scoop up all orbs when we cast our ascension, and then with time dilation, our armor charge stacks last for 15 seconds apiece instead of 10 seconds apiece, which are very nice. That gives us more mileage out of our weapon surges and out of our font mods. Now, as far as weapons go, there is not any required weapon for this build. You can run absolutely whatever you want. However, if you want to be completely optimized, this is what I would recommend. For the exotic, Delicate Tomb actually makes a lot of sense here, surprisingly, which I know you might be shocked because this isn't particularly a very meta weapon. Usually it's not used in a lot of builds, but this just synergizes really well with the build. If we look at our catalyst, collecting an ionic trace partially reloads the magazine from reserves, which is nice because we make ionic traces from so many sources, as we saw with our subclass setup. We have also got Trader's Vessel, where final blows with this weapon have a chance to generate ionic traces, and powerful foes and opposing guardians always generate ionic traces. And we got Tempest Cascade, where collecting an ionic trace overcharges this weapon's next shot, jolting targets on hit, which is really cool because if we go back to our subclass, remember that if we defeat a jolted target, then we create an ionic trace. So it makes like a little bit of a loop. We also create so many ionic traces through things like Tempest Strike, and we love making ionic traces because anytime we pick them up, we get bolt charge. We get bonus stacks of bolt charge when we're amplified because of Spark of Frequency. We're always amplified because of Ascension. And we also just generally love jolting stuff because of Gifted Conviction giving us damage resistance. So all of these pieces just kind of like ping pong off of each other constantly to give you a billion buffs at the same time without you really even having to do anything other than melee stuff and shoot stuff. Up in the kinetic slot, this is a weapon where I was referring to previously, where this can kind of help us circumvent the bug where we have to deal damage to a target before killing it with Tempest Strike for it to actually consume the combination blow. If we use a primary ammo shotgun hand cannon, this is the brand new one from Trials of Osiris, that has 1-2 punch, hitting a target with nearly every pellet in a shot increases melee damage for a short duration, then this actually rewards us for tagging a target before we Tempest Strike it, because it's going to juice up the damage of our Tempest Strike. When I was testing out in the shooting range, it effectively doubled my Tempest Strike damage overall. If we have to shoot a target or deal damage to a target before we go ahead and Tempest Strike them anyway to circumvent the bug where it wouldn't proc combination blow otherwise, might as well play into something where shooting that target is going to nearly double the damage on our Tempest Strike anyway. Finally, on the artifact, there's not really a ton of stuff on the artifact that this build is too reliant on or that soups up this build that much, which is both good and bad news. Good news because when this artifact goes away, this build is still going to be firing on all cylinders, but bad news because obviously it means, you know, we're not getting that much mileage out of the artifact. There are a couple things that you can go with, like refresh threads, where picking up an elemental pickup matching your subclass element grants energy to your least charge ability. Hopefully that's going to be grenade typically for us. Also got stuff like elemental coalescence, where defeating targets has the chance to create an elemental pickup matching your equipped super element. So that would be ionic traces for us, which is pretty nice. That synergizes with our build nicely, as we've discussed before. We've also got elemental overdrive, where picking up an elemental pickup grants increased damage to weapons of the same element. So ionic traces will give us bonus arc weapon damage, which is cool. And then shield crush, while we're amplified, our grenade recharges faster and deals increased damage, which I know we said this build's not really about the grenade, but a little bit of extra grenade damage and uptime, not, you know, not half bad one bit. So like I said, stuff on the artifact, not really that big of a deal, but might as well. So before we go into a piece of content to test this out, I just want to show y'all one more time that like this build is not playing around. We're at minus 40 power level at the current moment, and these are tanky mini boss Centurions, and the Tempest Strike just one-shots all of them. It even, like, I killed 2 of them in one strike right there. So just hit that, send it through. That kills 2 of them. This is minus 40 power level. So this build absolutely cooks, absolutely fries, no matter what power level you're at. So let's go test it out in some actual content, shall we? And to do that, I would love 2 members from my stream, twitch.tv/Mactics, by the way, where we record all of these live, to join me. And I think we'll do the new reclaim activity. It's relatively enemy dense, so I think it can serve as a pretty decent example of what this build's capable of. So we'll just tag him. Actually, we'll tag him, hit him with the combination blow, hit our ascension so we get our melee back. Tag him. Now we're at 2 stacks. Just red bar stuff now so far, so like, you know, nothing crazy impressive, but I'm just saying, like, imagine how this build's gonna be when you don't have to shoot them every time in between, and you only have to shoot them when you actually want to get the 1-2 punch for like some bonus damage. Yo, POV, you're the Pringles at the very bottom of the can that I'm eating. Another really nice thing about this too, in terms of like circumventing the bug, is absolutely fried, is the jolting orbs from Gifted Conviction can also tee up future targets to be hit, not only from the Tempest Strike, but also when you do the Ascension, and the jolting from the Ascension can also tee up targets so that you've done damage to them, and then you'll circumvent the bug, and then your Tempest Strike will actually give you combination blow. So it's like, even if you're not going with the spread shot hand cannon tee up 1-2 punch, like there's a lot of situations where you'll pre-damage an enemy anyway, just by happenstance, because of the Tempest Strike orbs from Gifted Conviction, the damage from Ascension, or the Ascension orbs from Gifted Conviction. So even though that annoying bug does exist, you're really not feeling it that much, if that makes sense. Right there's an example of like we did our Ascension, the Ascension pre-damaged him, so we don't have to worry about actually hitting him with the hand cannon. Probably should have hit him with the hand cannon still, because like, why not? Yeah, honestly, there's a lot of situations where you really don't have to do the hand cannon shot if you don't need the extra damage from the 1-2 punch. You just make sure you tag him with the Ascension or the orbs. Like, the AoE on it is so ridiculous. Oh, we got some enemies down here. Throw that, throw a grenade. Oh my god. Yeah, they both just got clapped. Will this stun champions? Yeah, it'll cook overload champions because jolting stuns overload champions. Unstoppable champions you won't stun, although this particular episode, hand cannon is unstoppable, as you can see in the bottom left because of the artifact mods that I have. As far as barrier champions, honestly, I think in a lot of situations, if you have combination blow ×3 and you get the 1-2 punch pre-applied, I think you might just be able to one-shot barrier champions with the Tempest Strike. The one area where this build definitely will falter a little bit is boss damage, just because of the simple fact that if you're throwing your Tempest Strike at a target and it doesn't kill it, you're not going to refund your class ability. But what you can do is if you got a lot of ads around the boss, like I currently do right now, if you have a situation where you damage the ads and then you can throw your Tempest Strike so that hits the boss to deal boss damage and kills one of the ads, then that's the ideal perfect situation. Not always going to happen like that though. Even if it doesn't, it's okay. You can also too, you don't have to use your melee for Tempest Strike. If you just want to keep your combination blow going, like you can do the typical combination blow punch. That's like honestly probably a decent way to play it is don't even Tempest Strike until your combination blow X3. You can do the typical dodge punch to get your X3. And then once you're at X3, then you can start Tempest Striking. Got more enemies spawn in. I'll get a hit on one of them. See, even though I had the bug and I didn't actually kill that one, still managed to get it back just because my ability regens are so high. We'll just put that all to bed nice and easy. Pretty simple build, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, as you can see here, highest kill count, 176 kills. And honestly, the big thing there, in my opinion, is 94 orbs created. And pretty much all of those are strictly from the melee, from the Tempest Striking, because of the double heavy-handed that we have on our gloves. That's making orbs of power every 5 seconds. And then also a contributing factor of that is our Spark of Amplitude. While we're amplified and we rapidly defeat targets, we create orbs of power. So that's the build. Like I said before, it does have that bug going on, which is a little bit annoying. However, I've been having too much fun with it. I can't keep it under wraps anymore. I wanted to wait until they fix that bug with it, but just being completely honest, who knows when the bug gets fixed. You know, I didn't want to put off showing you all this build for another 6 months. You know, who knows how long it's going to be, right? Because it truly is one of the most fun builds. It's extremely powerful as well, like you saw, and it's spectacular. Like you saw in the demonstration, weapons, you know, there's certain weapons that feel good, but ultimately you can use absolutely whatever you want. The thing I would urge you towards the most is the primary ammo hand cannon with 1-2 punch. You don't even necessarily have to do the Aureus neutralizer as well if you want. If you have the 1-2 punch solar hand cannon as well, the solar shotgun hand cannon, the Fenutria Fura or something like that, whatever it's called from Arms Week, that could totally work as well. And then you can run a special ammo weapon up in the top slot. Another great combo, that's a great point. You could do Bastion up in the top slot for your special weapon if you wanted to. You could totally do Bastion up in the top slot if you wanted to, where after a successful melee hit, this weapon gains increased damage, reduced charge time, and improved reload speed, and hitting a target with most of the pellets in a burst is going to increase your melee damage. So obviously you're doing a lot of melee damage. That'll increase the effectiveness of this weapon. If you're up on like a boss or something like that, and you have your combination blow ×3 Tempest Strike ready to go, fire a quick burst with Bastion and then rip it. It's going to do, I think it's like what, 300% bonus melee damage or something like that. That could be disgusting. And then you can pair that with the primary ammo solar shotgun hand cannon with 1-2 punch on it. Oh my God. Do you think you could go solar? Do you think you could do the hand cannon, shoot it for the 1-2 punch, pull out the Bastion, get the burst with the Bastion, and then you have a ×3 combination blow Tempest Strike with 1-2 punch and the Bastion perk, all buffing the... Someone go try that. But I hope you enjoyed this build. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you did. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.